Bile is necessary for the digestion and absorption of lipids in the duodenum. The specific feature of lipids is that they are hydrophobic substances. As we know, only hydrophilic dietary substances as carbohydrates and amino acids can be properly digested and absorbed by themselves. Lipids are hydrophobic. They cannot be absorbed in their initial form. So to make lipids more water-soluble, liver produces bile. The normal components of the bile are bile salts, cholesterol, phospholipids, bile pigments as conjugated bilirubin, ions, and water. To simplify, let's take clinically 5 most important of them. It's water as the major component, bile salts or bile acids, phospholipids, conjugated bilirubin, and cholesterol. Once bile is produced by the liver, bile through the bile ducts income to the gallbladder, and gallbladder is the place where bile is stored until we consume some fatty food. Basically, the only function of the gallbladder is to store bile and to reabsorb water from the bile during the storage. So gallbladder makes bile more viscous, and the increase in viscosity creates some problems. Bile contains cholesterol, and cholesterol molecules are very sticky. They are extremely prone to aggregation with each other, and this potentially can cause formation of cholesterol gallstone. The same story for bilirubin that can bind calcium and precipitate with formation of calcium bilirubinate gallstones. The substances that inhibit aggregation of cholesterol molecules are bile acids and phospholipids. They solubilize cholesterol, and by this they prevent aggregation of cholesterol molecules. So basically, they inhibit the formation of cholesterol gallstones in the gallbladder. And after the intake of fatty meal, at some point, large amount of fatty acids income to the duodenum. In response to dietary lipids, eye cells of the duodenum secrete cholecystokinin. Cholecystokinin is a specific hormone that stimulates contractility of the gallbladder. So as a result, gallbladder contracts, and by this, gallbladder pushes bile into the cystic duct. The flow from the gallbladder through the cystic duct into the common bile duct is equal to pressure inside the gallbladder minus pressure inside the common bile duct divided on resistance between them. So with contraction of the gallbladder, the pressure inside the gallbladder increase, and as a result flow increase. So by contraction, gallbladder pushes bile through the cystic duct into the common bile duct. From the common bile duct, bile flows into the duodenum, and the passage of bile into the duodenum is controlled by the Sphincter of Oddi. In rest state, Sphincter of Oddi remains in contracted state. Recall that flow from the common bile duct into the duodenum equals to pressure difference between choledoc and the lumen of the duodenum divided on resistance between them, and resistance is inversely proportional to the force power of radius. So in rest state, because Sphincter of Oddi is contracted, radius is minimal, thereby resistance is maximal, and maximal resistance causes minimal or no flow. But when cholecystokinin acts on Sphincter of Oddi, it causes relaxation of the sphincter. With relaxation, radius increase, thereby resistance decrease. With decrease in resistance, flow increase, so bile can enter into the lumen of the duodenum. In the small intestine, bile acids and bile salts emulsify lipids, and by this they help duodenum to absorb dietary fats. When lipids absorption is complete, bile acids and salts are going into the ileum, where 95% of them are reabsorbed into the blood. More precisely, they are reabsorbed into the portal circulation, and through the portal circulation they are delivered to the liver, where they are uptaken by the hepatocytes and again used in production of bile, and only 5% of the bile acids excreted with the feces. This process of bile salt secretion and then of bile salt reabsorption, and eventually they are uptaken by the hepatocytes with further secretion, called enterohepatic circulation, and this process is recurring like up to 15 times a day. By such recirculation, we basically reduce the liver demand to produce new bile salts. So liver must replace only those bile salts that are excreted with the feces, and it's only 5%.